The last of the factors is called communications, and we have already spoken about language, which is also part of communications, but because it is so important, we have seen that as another factor, that was factor number one. And now we're going to talk about three different variables that are called distance, that are called time and punctuality, and that are called body language or kinesics. As you know, well, language is the verbal communications, the things that you can hear, the things that you can sense when you hear it. But there are another silent languages signals, such as the way you distance yourself from the others, the time and punctuality, and the way you move, which will be body language. They are going to differ culture to culture. So let's start by talking about the distance. Now, distance is the place that you live or that you maintain during conversations. Now, for some European countries such as Germany, the distance that we Latins have when making conversations is so close. So for them, it really, it's not appropriate when you try to talk very close to another person. They feel that they are invaded, so they might consider that as something that they don't want to be involved with. But if you saw that somebody is really trying not to talk to you very close, you probably feel that, well, maybe I'm doing something wrong, maybe this person don't want to speak to me. But it all depends on culture, and it has a lot to do with the distance that you have, that is that or has been managed throughout all your history. So in some Islamic countries, for example, when you are speaking or when you are negotiating with someone and you are a woman from the Western world, you have to be very careful even with the time you spend by looking at the eyes of the other person, especially if it's a man. So distance is very important when it comes to conversations. So if you research a little bit before going to the country on how people make conversations or how they make eye contact or how they greet the other person, then that will be something that will benefit your negotiations. Now, the second variable is time and punctuality. Now, here is an example, and this is very easy to understand. The Germans, for example, if they say that the meeting is going to start at 9 a.m., then you should be there at least 5 minutes prior to 9 a.m. They consider that when you are not there on time, that you're not taking the meeting too serious, or that it's not really that important. It is said that in most of the English-speaking countries, time is scarce. So when there is a loss or when you don't show up on time, then the time that they have scheduled for meeting you, it can't be reoccupied, so it's a loss of time. They take punctuality very serious. It's like a serious matter. So what might be for some Latin countries or some, for example, in India, if they are not punctual, they value more the communication they have with you, the time you spend talking about probably your family, your hobbies, rather than going directly into the business. So it's not really that important if you're punctual or not. The importance is based on what you're gonna have as a conversation. The last variable is called the body language. And body language is going to refer to as kinesics, which by definition is the way that people move their bodies, their non-verbal communication you do with your hands, with the way you walk, with your movements of your head, your eye contact, and all of that. So, for example, you see here in this image the yes sign or the okay. But in some countries such as Germany, well, that same sign will mean that you're lunatic. If you're in France, then it will mean that something has zero value. And in Japan, when they do that sign, they're talking about coins in terms of currency, all right? So